I asked directions to a few people wandering outside, only met with avoidant glances, head shakes, and quick words in a language I don't understand. A raccoon points me in one direction, where I run into a trading post. The woman running it isn't much help, stating that the inn is the only place travelers coming and going tend to be during their time here. Fade out, fade in. It's supposed to be a nighttime version of this Sprite? I guess. I make my way around the boundaries of the reservation at least twice. It's getting dark by now. Men with guns leer at me from wooden outposts about 6 feet into the air. I'm strange to them, no doubt, but they don't pay me much mind for long. While the south gate is gated in an arc of wooden posts, the north is completely unguarded. Doesn't take me long to see why. The reservation is built upon a precipice, and its deep canyon is too steep to climb with ease, considering the rapids running below it. There's an unguarded post with a flimsy wooden gate to the west, posted before a thick tree line. I walk past the post, unsure if it's still a part of the settlement's boundaries or not. The woods here is thick with pine trees, and the sounds of the rapids are louder. I should go back. But I stop when I hear drums. They're steady, monotone beats. I see movement between the trees and see a procession of mostly adult walking in a row with a man in the front shaking a rattle. There's also 2 others I recognize. There's Yiska, that bear from the trip, hitting a drum. And then there's Cliff. He's walking behind them, silent and focused, stepping to the sound of the instrument, as a man in front of them all chants, beating the top of the drum. Looks like they're doing something informal, but they're carrying bags of stuff, and the chanting and the rattling seem to imply otherwise. I jump when I hear another drum. The beat is coming from behind me. I see Tsela standing at the well, looking down to hit the drum with the palm of his hands. He looks up and stops playing when he notices me looking back. What's going on? His eyes narrow, and he goes back to beating the drum. A disagreement is playing out. Nothing to concern yourself with. He let out a string of chants, then started to play his drum again. Another group of men passed by, some carrying pillows. Another, a paper lamp with wooden siding that had leaves whittled out of it. Where are they taking all that stuff? They're burying Shila's things. Who? He was our other companion on the hunting trip. I think back and remember that they had mentioned traveling with another person. Is this a funeral? Not in your Christian sense, no. We bury the lost, but we bury the lost. Sorry. But we don't hold funerals. Shila's body is something we could never recover. Couldn't his family reuse his things? I don't see the point in burying them. If they aren't with the dead, then he might come back looking for them. Come looking for them, okay. You mean like a ghost? I mean exactly a ghost. I just ain't ever heard of a ghost coming back to get his things. People pass down the things they use all the time. Never really saw one coming back for their coat, racks, and griddles. Perhaps this is because your culture surrounds you. What the fuck? Perhaps this. Fucking hell, I'm so sorry. Perhaps this is because your culture surrounds you with tortured spirits so often you have lost the ability to notice them, or how they make you ill. I chuff. Ill in what sense? In spirit and body. People have a bad relationship with the air and soil. I stopped going to church because people kept guilting me there too. Do not compare my people to your fantasies of world molded in your image. Didn't mean offense. Just struggling to think of what makes somebody like you much different from the preacher who'd always tell me to pray more and do better in the eyes of the Lord. The difference is that your people bend the world into your own image. I'd appreciate it if you stopped saying your people. I don't exactly claim any of this. A shadow of doubt crossed the Kit Fox's face. Then what exactly do you claim? What are your roots? I stop and think for a bit. I guess I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? My parents didn't know where we came from. My grandparents knew, they never told. We followed the law and the religion of our township, but that place in my family is practically dead to me. Yet you still claim Christendom without its congregations? I guess. So you choose to bear the weight of a movement without knowing its impact on others. You stumble in the dark, then. Hardly surprising. I still don't see what makes your faith so much better or different than mine. Isn't there a whole scene going on behind us? And isn't Selah supposed to be a part of that? But no, we just put it all on hold so that we can have spirituality versus native spirituality versus lazy Christian debate. Like, what the fuck? That's apparent. Our faith emphasizes the importance of noticing everybody's role in the balance of everything, not establishing dominion. It's the difference between speaking and listening. Or like seeing the way a river flows, and taking the fish that you need from the current instead of building a dam to control where the fish must swim. What's wrong with building a dam? He twitches. There's nothing wrong with building a dam. It was just an analogy. Okay. This is stressing me out. His lip curls down. You got a lighter? He relaxes his face and looks away from me when he pulls something silver from his pocket. Sure. I take out one of the cigarettes I'd been holding on to from my pocket and lean my way towards him. He flips it open deftly and retreats it almost immediately after the first spark and the first catch of the burnt paper. Thanks. He doesn't answer, but he puts the lighter away. Inhale the smoke, hold it, and let it all out. Anyway, you were saying something about an argument. Yeah, because we haven't been having one of those. Anyway, the scene that's happening here. There are places to have deeper conversations. There are places to have deeper conversations. And this just seemed like a really random place to put it. Especially between a character that we barely know in Selah and Samuel, whose connection to Christianity has been inconsistent at best. There are some scenes where he's barely connected in saying that he could take it or leave it, and then other scenes where he's literally spending his time just passing the time reading the Bible for fucking, and then quoting it as he walks as the scene's playing out, like, and then there's this, like, this felt really weird. Anyway, you were saying something about an argument. What's it about? He literally told us not to concern ourselves, but I guess we're just going to ignore that too. I gestured in the direction of the marching procession, which is still happening. I thought this kind of stuff wasn't allowed here anyway. The clergy doesn't care as much about the older... What about the older... About what? The clergy doesn't care as much about the older generation does. About what the older generation does? I guess? They know we'll be more cooperative if they let us practice. And then they're letting time and dogma do the rest of the work. You seem a lot angrier than your friend. The bear in the distance hops as he beats his drum. Yiska is not troubled by present or by the future. He lives happily that way. He's a very harmonious person. This is why he leads the first night of the Blessing Way. What's that? Mostly what it sounds like. But he would do better at times to recognize that we are surrounded by enemies and bad spirits, like the spirit we encountered in the woods who spilled blood. And the priest. And you, and the other strangers. I'm sorry I exist. Samuel's narrative voice is so, like, from scene to scene. Like, goes from being, like, fitting of the time, place, and setting to being, like, millennial sass. Like, I'm sorry I exist is straight up millennial sass. Like, people in the 1920s didn't say that shit. Christ. Me too. Okay, that was funny. At least it's not your fault. I rub my temple. The enemy way is a different sort of practice. It keeps the dead away. The unnatural things that plague us. And does it work? Of course it works. Why is everybody always so confident about these sort of things? Wouldn't everybody be doing these things if they worked? Then again, I've never needed this degree of spiritual protection before I came to Echo. Maybe just faith in something is enough to make a difference? Or maybe I just keep running into prideful individuals. Show me then. He glares at me a bit, then puts his drum beneath his arm. Not possible. But I can show you parts. He jerks his head in a direction into the woods. I follow him a little deeper until we come across a glade with another bonfire. Most of what I can show will not bear the same meaning or sentiment to an outsider, so you won't get much out of this. He starts beating his drum with one hand and then the other in a steady beat. When warriors return to their families, there's always the risk of bringing back ghosts with them. Then he stops again. The first reason why this isn't possible is that the ceremony doesn't take place in one location or one night. You can take part for 9 nights alongside many other rituals. We paint the sand with dry pigment. We sing, we pray, and many bear the responsibility of moving the rattle we make from one site to the other, to another. That sounds time-consuming. Our community loses much more than time when we start to neglect this ritual. Shyla was a warrior. So are we. He's really unloading this all on me. You asked him to! You know, that little stoat fellow rode all the way across the sea just to hear about stuff like this. He leers at me. Yes. So he can bring it all back across the sea. I shrug. So, He's a thief. Of what exactly? Of spirit and knowledge. So what about me? In truth, I'm telling you this because I do not think you have the capacity to remember the information to pass along. Eh? At least not details that matter. I blink again. You know what? I think you're really rude. Or I just understand how things work. Again, this reeks of millennial sass. Jeez. The people who come here to study us don't want to make our lives better. They want to make us like them. Or kill us. If not our forms, then our spirits. I do not have to be comfortable with that. Huh. What? Nothing. It's just... You look and sound a lot like somebody I know right now. Who? Do you know Cynthia? I'm not even gonna try. For the first time, he looks genuinely curious. They're my cousins. Though the Begay and... I guess I have to try... Soci families have not interacted for a long time. None of them live here anymore. I know one in Echo. I know Istat and Kaylee. Now he's nodding. Cynthia was their daughter. Well, that's what she was called here too? Her father converted to Christianity. Her mother did not. She traded in jewelry, and Cynthia helped her make this finery. This was a problem for the priests, because the nature of this work is religious, and the power to barter in the community was great. But the day they left was very strange. Looked like he was trying hard to remember. Her father needed medicine, but nobody would disclose the nature of his ailment. I was told that the whole family packed up for Camp Rosa, and nobody had seen them since. Echo was in the opposite direction, though. Have you been to Camp Rosa yourself? Several times. Is there a railroad? No, but Providence has one and it's closer. Could you take me there? I don't have any business there. I'll pay you. How much? I have a banking check for $60. I could do this trip for $20 if you have something more material to offer up front. Paper money is fine when we get to our destination. Isn't so good in the desert. Providence has a phone, right? So what? I could get you a phone call with Cynthia. What makes you think I would want that? Don't you? You said she was family. He pauses. I do. But I'm also afraid of what I might find out if I do. Well, that's an odd thing to say. Then again, family business is often odd. More importantly, none of my business. Is that enough to offer, or do I need to think of something else? Supply the food and the water, and I will agree to this. Deal. Hold out my hand to him, and he grabs it. His grip is tight for a paw so small. It's almost painful. Lets me go when we hear something. What was that? It sounded like a horse, in case the audio was too quiet. What was that? Sounded like a whinny. Are there pack beasts nearby? Yeah, there's a ranch outside the gate. We hear another whinny. Then a startled bray. And something wet. Oh, God. Oh, God. It's thrashing and galloping and slams into wood. Do they normally make those sounds? You don't think... Don't assume the worst. Something probably snuck into the pen. We rely on these beasts for transporting food. If something's wrong, then we'll need to tell the rancher. This way. It's a lot darker in these parts of the woods. If I try, I can make out some shapes that might be barns in the distance, but they look more like blobs to me. I feel the kit fox tug me by the cuff as he ducks, and I feel a board of offense hit my stomach. He makes a shushing sound to me. Are we supposed to be out here? I can see enough of his face to tell he's rolling his eyes. He scampers through the fence, and I follow him mostly because I don't want to be by myself if somebody with a rifle comes across us. I stumble around, looking for the direction he went in. Here. Oh, there you are. He's leaning against something big. I think for a moment it must be a sleeping mule, but it doesn't look like it's breathing evenly. Cold wound. It wasn't emboldened enough to finish. Why is that? Could be testing the boundaries of the herd. Could have been scared off or injured itself. We look out to the pen in the woods to count more than 50 dark creatures waiting around. What we might have heard was one of the pack animals smelling the wound of the other animal. Nothing to worry about then? I slack my shoulders and feel my neck relax. Thank God there's nothing out here now. Whatever it was must be gone. That's when I feel something touch me.
Oh, you spoke too soon, motherfucker. Yuck.
It confuses me at first because it feels like a dainty sort of caress of a hand on my lower leg, except curls close to grip me. That's when I can feel how truly large the palm is. I yell as I feel it yank me off my feet, slamming my back into the dirt. Open my eyes and I see Selah staring at me with wide eyes. And rapidly, he becomes smaller. Something's dragging me. Whoa, that's cool. That's a cool fucking detail. I like that. I can see the stars and the trees sweep by as I realize the speed that I'm going. Rocks and roots scrape across against the dirt, ripping through, some scraping the skin. I try to look forward to see what's dragging me, but I don't see anything, despite feeling that awful monstrous claw gripping into me with its nails. Think about how above the canyon the settlement is. Think about a chasm lived with bones that gets thinner and thinner the harder you're pulled. But I stop moving. I stand up, and I'm out in the middle of nowhere. There's no houses nearby, no people. When I try to stand on my left leg, it hurts. It hurts real bad. What's worse is that I can hear something breathing. I feel like it wants me to walk. It wants me to try to make it back to town. There's nowhere to go or to hide, but back in the direction that I came from. I can still see the trail that my own body made. And I yet let out a yowl when I take my first step. My ankle's swelling. I'm gonna have to crawl. So I get on my knees and I cry out again, feeling a stab in my leg. And I pull myself forward. Tears pool down my cheeks as I scrabble forward, careful not to let my left foot touch the ground. Feel a hot breath on my neck. Lungs. That's uncomfortable. A long, spongy tongue starts to lap at my neck. And then I hear the gunshot. It's gone, as if it was never there. I see Selah running towards me, hooking his rifle. He had a rifle this whole fucking time? Jesus Christ. Onto his back, grabbing me by the suspenders and pulling me in quick bursts. He looks right, then left, wide-eyed, almost frenzied, as he takes me back into the woods. Back through the woods. It's hard to turn my head to look left or right. Sometimes I think I hear breathing again on the right. Sometimes it's on the left. Sometimes it sounds like it's coming from the trees or from multiple places at once. So that doesn't stop dragging me. Use your legs if you can. My right's twisted. Then just use one. You're too heavy to drag. You have to move faster or I'll have to drop you. Back through the gate. Back to his cabin. He slams the door and bolts the lock. He pulls me over to a rug on the ground. Show me your foot. I pull up the sleeve and he bends down, holding it with one of his paws. Don't touch it. And brushes up against the direction of my fur. Aside from the bruising, most of your skin is red, so no bleeding. Your bones are in place. But you shouldn't walk on this for several days. But I try to stand again and feel a sharp sting on my ankle. Have to. Only have a week to get out of this town. I don't even want to wait that long. Taylor shakes his head. Foolish. The plot mandates that you stay by the rest of the characters. You won't make it far on that leg. You have a car that could drive us? I do. What? What the fuck? So what's the problem? Something might be following you. I shake my head. You can't prove that. It's just got to be some starving animal. I didn't believe it when I say it, but I don't want to think about any other possibility. No animal would be bold enough to come here with all of the noise and the smoke. It's something else. And it showed when your party did. I thought your group was attacked before us. Maybe it's hunting you. Mumbles something I don't understand. We know that it will go after us at the very least. Well, I've still got to leave town. He looks out of a window, craning his head. It sounded like it was bothering the animals, so it's a problem for the whole settlement now. You should tell your anthropologist friend, so he can tell the Christians. If we put together a hunting party, then we can be rid of it before it strikes. You're going to try and kill it? Ideally. But we couldn't even see it last time. And it's fast. None of us are getting very far if this problem isn't dealt with. There's a thump on the door. It's sudden and forceful like a single knock. That's not exactly right either. Taylor stands and walks up to the door. He says something in his language. There's nobody there. Then he tries again in Albion. Is Albion the fucking native... Not the native language, but their version of English? Albion? Is that... Albion? Are they in the United States of Alberica? What the Albion? Who's there? Deep guttural voice replies. Yiska? Both wait for a reply. There's a soft shove again. Yiska's there. What do you mean Yiska's there? Who is this? Another thump. This is Yiska. That sounded more like the bear this time. Oh, damn it. That sounded more like the bear this time. Are y'all both roommates? Ted looks at me and holds up a single digit to his mouth. He turns back to the door and makes noises I don't understand. The person on the other side of the door makes those noises back in a deeper voice. And the fox steps away. He walks over slowly to the small window and pulls the curtain over it. A shadow passes, and he walks back slowly. I'm about to ask him what's going on, but he puts a hand over my mouth, giving me a taste of clay and bark. Leans close to my ear and whispers, "Spirit." That confuses me. It sounded like Yiska. I try to talk again, but he shakes his head. Do not leave tonight. Do not let anybody in until morning. But what if it's somebody we know? Especially if it's somebody we know. The light behind the curtain blackens. I hear sniffing sounds. And something wet. A slow scraping noise drags across the window. Then the shadow leaves. Again. Nobody. What about your hunting partner? That wasn't him. He won't be back tonight. We listen for the bugs and the wind and the trace of any footsteps. But there's nothing. Get some sleep. I'll know if you try to answer the door. How's that? You make noise when you're in pain. I'll know. Well, that's fucking horrifying. I tried to sleep in spite of the pain and anxiety. The bugs chirping outside sounded comfortably close, like there ain't much separating us besides stacked logs and flimsy glass. It ain't like that. It is that. I try not to listen to anything, lest I hear something I shouldn't. I hear soft snores coming from the fox in the chair. I'm impressed that he can sleep sitting up, but I guess I shouldn't be surprised. He's still holding his gun. Now that I think about it, I thought they confiscated any weapons at the gate. Glad they didn't. All right, most likely be dead. I shuffle against the fur blanket on the couch, and I thought he was on the floor, but I guess he moved, and turn my head away from the window, trying to sleep again. I feel heavier. My eyelids droop and my chest heaves heavier. I sink deeper into the couch, thinking of one of Benton's piano pieces back at the hip to drown out the sound of the bugs and taps of wood against the glass. I exhale. I'm awake. I feel hot, bubbling pain on my leg that fades quickly. When I look down, I see a welt on my foot that might be an insect bite. I'm worried that it could be venomous because I didn't see what did it. It's just itchy for now. I don't hear Zayla snoring anymore. I probably woke him up when I shook the couch. Looking at the... Oh, jeez. Oh, sorry. It just looked scarier on the on my computer screen. But yeah, it's just sort of a darkened out sprite. Looking at the chair, I can see he's sitting there. Trouble sleeping? I have to wait to let my eyes adjust to the dark. Yeah. Losing sleep is a terrible thing. Some people say you can never get it back after you lose it. I think I can just barely make out the shape of his snout moving. Bits of your brain just get strained and scrambled, and you just never get all of it back. You're not really helping me get to sleep. Who says I want to? Maybe I just want to talk right now. I feel like that's surprising, considering you rarely want to talk. You hear the chair creak as he adjusts himself in it. I can't see what he's doing, but he's moving around. You're a bit of a pervert, aren't you? What? I mean, you've seen plenty of things you're not supposed to see. Come on, guys, really? We've done all manner of, atmospheric and interesting lore-based stuff, and the one time that it makes no sense for anything like this to happen, and my brother comes out to the living room, all of a sudden, something sexual pops up. Of course. Literally, I've been recording for 2 hours. Not one thing. Haven't even been mentioned. Now we'll get into whatever the hell is happening here. And even though I'm fairly certain it's just the spirit fucking with our perception of what's going on, or a dream or something, which would explain why it's so out of character, or maybe I'm just misreading it. Anyway, and put your hands and mouths in all sorts of places. His tone is stern. Okay. And you put your mind and body at the mercy of others day after day. Is any of that your business? Because I'm all too familiar with that sort of person, Mr. Ayers. Ooh, scary. His pupils are lit. Scary. He's looking at me and his eyes are open. Something's wrong. His eyes look like dark glass. There's nothing much inside of them. Nothing much but small lights shining brightly, burning far, far away. I think for a second that this must be his reflection. But I remember that the windows are closed. The longer I look at him, the harder it is to make out anything else than the shine of his teeth and the glint of his eyes. Where am I? Whatever is shining must be coming from inside him. What kind of stupid question is that? It's your house, ain't it? Somehow I know it's not his house. Because somehow I know that whoever I'm talking to ain't Sailor. Oh, goddammit, I almost said Tesla. I want to play along without making any sudden moves. I think this is a dream, and I'll wake up soon. He looks left, then right, and then toward me again. I've never been here before. But I followed something, and now I am. Did you follow me? He or it hums softly. Perhaps not. There's already somebody following you. Will he speak? Lets out a one-note laugh. Too shy. Oh well. You, though. He nods his snout. I do know you, though. I've seen you plenty. Where? He tilts his head. Don't you mean where and when? I don't suppose it matters. It's never fair what happens to us, though, is it? He laughs again. Something that sounds like choking more than laughter. You tell me so every time I meet you. I haven't met you before. Oh, I've met you. Unfair, unfair, unfair. That's your tune every time I meet you, isn't it? He takes something out of his pocket. I hear a flicking sound. In a low light, I can see it swinging. You always have the gall to say that to me. In spite of your wealth of choices. And my lack of them. But you chose so poorly, so many times. Who are you? It doesn't matter. I'm tired of telling you. Why are you here? What do you want with me? I suppose you're still not very smart yet. I already told you. I'm not here for any reason I can tell you. That would again imply I had a choice. I'm just here to ride the wave. Closes the knife and looks at his hands. The knife? It sounded like a lighter, but alright. Maybe it was can't think of the word right. Switchblade. There we go. These look like my hands. But I know that they are not. I haven't ever seen them before. For a moment, he smiles. Maybe things will be different this time. He blinks with both of his eyes, and the lights go out. Why are you awake? What? You should be sleeping. I thought I was. You're sitting up and staring at me in the dark like I'm a meal. We were talking? We are talking, and you are asleep. I do not talk in my sleep. Yiska Avery would have told me. Hey. Hear a growl in my own voice. I ain't making shit up. I'm sure you don't think you are. You're injured and lack restful sleep. Close your eyes and do not speak any more of this until the morning if you want to stay here. It Bite my lip. His home, his rules. I'm more than used to that concept. I try closing my eyes for a few more. I try closing my eyes a few times. And I feel myself slipping away. Well, I got a feeling that was John. So that a little odd inclusion there. All right, wonder what that's going to lead to. There's birds outside. Noisy little fuckers. Pots and pans clang behind me, seemingly with nothing in them by the sounds of it. And I can turn to see Tsela mill about his kitchen. I smell fried eggs and hear him chopping something fast. He cups a handful of tubers and tosses it into a pan, making it sizzle. Good, you're awake. He puts a plate on the end table near the couch. Eat. The warm scent of wilted greens, fried starch, and fatty fish hits my face. It smells delicious, but I think I might need to go. It's light outside, so it's safe to go. I nod and make a motion to stand. He looks at me with a doubtful face as a sharp feeling stabs through my leg. Shit! I think one of the people in the apartment is sleeping, and the other one, oh, no, they got D&D today. Well, I don't know what the fuck. Either way, I'm not screaming shit. Looks to me like you're not. Looks to me like you're still not going anywhere. Eat. He knew this would happen. I shoot him a dirty look while I shovel a bit of runny egg and squash into my mouth. He finishes his meal very quickly without talking. Then he stands. I'm going to get Avery. Him? Just the mention of his name makes me want to make sure I still have the map. I don't remember if I left it with my bags in Cliff's room or not. Don't open the door for anybody, even if it sounds like me. I won't need any help getting back in. I don't think I could let anybody in even if I wanted to, unless I slid my way to the door. All I want to do now is focus on finishing my breakfast. It's good, but the pain in my jaw and chest makes it hard to swallow anything at first. Then I check one of the bags on me. The map's there. I open it up to make sure it isn't damaged, and I breathe in relief when I see it isn't. It's not long before I hear scratching at the door. I flinch and scoot back when I see the door burst open. But it's just the fox. The elk follows him behind. I imagine that's follows behind him, looking a little more dour than before. I don't remember Avery's voice at all. Well, if it isn't Mr. Tibbets's bodyguard. I shake my head. Just was for the journey here. I'm off the hook now. I hope he paid you well, at least. Bodyguarding's a frightful business. This isn't the first time I've had to patch you up. I roll my eyes. Taylor gives us both a suspicious look. He doesn't know what Avery's talking about. Now let's see that leg. I pull him a pant leg and place it on the table. Avery's eyes widen a little. Well, I don't think it's broken, but that's definitely sprained. I have some cloth I can bind it with. Thanks, Doc. I'm sorry to say that I didn't bury a crutch in my bag. Oh, I'm sorry to say I didn't bury a crutch in my bag. He shakes as he laughs at his own joke. Thanks, Doc. A good sturdy walking stick will do you just fine if you don't want somebody in town to whittle you something. If it doesn't look better in a week or two, you might need a closer look. You can probably visit a real professional and get their opinions. But I bet they'll charge you a pretty penny to say, keep it wrapped and don't put pressure on it. Oh, something like that is mostly common sense. He gets out gauze and a pin from his bag and starts dressing my foot firmly, but not too tight. Sailor retreats to the kitchen, cleaning pots and scraping waste into the fire. He looks and sounds a bit more cheerful than he was when he first came in. So, what have you been doing around the settlement yesterday? He grunts.
Let's not talk about such things while in Yiska's house.
He stops as his eyes linger over my chest.
Wow. Looks like you had a lot more excitement than me. There's a lot of small cuts I'm seeing too. And larger bruises.
He talks to Tsela in the Maseda language. Tsela shakes his head before responding with what sounds like only a few words.
So it was only the two of you together last night?
Yeah. He doesn't say anything for a while as he keeps dressing my foot.
I was supposed to be back in Echo a few days ago. Another delay is going to be bad. But if I can't go out after dark, then there's not much else I can do but wait.
In 2 days, I still plan to make the trip to Camp Rosa with Yiska. Are you still willing to take me? Going there shouldn't be a problem with the size of our cart. You'd have to ride. I don't think you could keep up with us on foot. And it won't be comfortable, but it will definitely be possible. The back of the cart it is, then. You just can't come back with us since our cart won't be empty. Trust me, that ain't a problem.
Oh, he's big about abandonment. Regardless, it's something to think about for later. As for right now, let's go pick you out a walking stick.
Taylor and Avery talk to each other as Avery rises, giving me his arm to help me lean on him and stand. We all exit the cabin and Taylor locks the door behind us. Taylor walks off in one direction without another word to me. Where's he off to so fast?
He's meeting Yiska near the apiary.
That what?
It's a bee farm. Honey gets gathered there.
I want to express gratitude for what he did for me last night, but what happened after that still unnerves me.
Your stoat friend will be there too. The Reverend is letting him in.
How do you know that?
I saw him and Yiska coming back from the mesa this morning.
While you were doing what?
Just looking for the right pile of rocks based on what the elders who still live here could tell me.
The pine needles crunch beneath our feet as I lean on Avery until we find a clearing with lots of fallen branches and dead saplings. There's a sweet smell that lingers in the air, mostly likely from all the smoke of a small settlement waking up, along with the scent of pine sap.
You know, there's not a whole lot of places I can be with guards around.
Feel my chest clench a bit. So you were looking for your sister.
Where they put her body, at the very least.
Picks up a few sticks, swinging them for size and checking them for rot. Did you find it?
I think so, but I can't be for sure. The graves are unmarked, and there were certainly some beneath the rocks. I wouldn't disturb anybody's resting place to confirm if it was hers or not.
Again, I'm sorry.
I wasn't expecting to find her anyway. But it's difficult never getting to know the exact place.
He hands me 2 sticks.
Lift your leg and test them.
The bark is gone, so it's easy enough to hold on to both of them and swing my way through a triangular stance. They're working.
They should hold you for at least a week if you're careful. Some of the wood is still green.
Right.
Now that you're mobile again, I figured I'd mention that your travel companions were looking for you yesterday.
Were they? Cliff seemed pretty preoccupied, if I remember right.
Jeb and the Fox expected you back in your room. They looked pretty concerned. I figure it's early enough that they should still be at the inn your stoat friend checked in at.
I thought Jeb was staying with you.
For a night, but I need to be alone for a spell.
He's much tenser here than he was in the woods.
I heard about his argument with the stoat, though. The Fox managed to smooth things over some, but I know his mane's still caught up in a few knots. You should probably tell your traveling companions when you head off by yourself or private business. He looks out into the woods, considering the circumstances. Wouldn't want them getting hurt searching for somebody who might not want to be found. Know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
All right, then. I'll check up on your injuries before I leave, but I need to get back to Echo sooner rather than later. Keep your nose clean until then. The madam would be pretty cross with me if she knew I ran into you and you came back too beat up. Yeah, sorry about that.
You ain't responsible for me. And I can't let you know that I don't intend to go back to Echo. Don't waste any time looking for me if I can't be found. If we cross paths and you can't help me, that's great and good. And you can help me, that's great and good, but you've already done more than enough. The madam don't need to fuss at you on account of my own choices.
She's usually understanding.
He nods his head.
Till next we meet.
I nod. In the woods, he whistled while he walked away, but now he stays quiet, increasing his distance until he disappeared between the pine trees. It's not his fault, but the way he talks about going back to Echo puts me on edge. He's been nothing but friendly and helpful to me, but I can't help but think about how much he knows about me and how freely he talks about it. He treated my injuries the day I killed Jack. He knows the direction I went, and the direction I'll go when it comes to running away. Some part of me knows it's terrible, but I'd surely breathe a little easier if he never made his way back to Echo. Or at least delayed long enough to make it far, far away, even from the station at Camp Rosa. I thought they said the station wasn't at Camp Rosa. The station was at, Pleasantville or whatever the fuck the other town was. They said that there wasn't a station at Camp Rosa. They literally said there wasn't one. What the fuck? I lift my injured ankle off the ground and put my weight on the walking sticks. I have to hobble a bit before I get a feel for using them. But I make steady progress toward the direction of the inn. The innkeeper barely looks at me as I make it through the front door and start my struggle up the steep stairs. Thankfully, the railing is sturdy, the railing that we'll assume is there. When I get to the front door of our room, I accidentally lose my footing and my body thuds against the wood. Coming. You hear the sound of Murdoch's voice and the sounds of scrabbling through papers on the desk before a chair pushes out and somebody's footsteps get closer. The door opens. I can see the fox's expression shift from relaxed to nervous. Oh, Sam. Well, that's a great reception. He looks me up and down. I'm relieved you're back, but what happened? He moves out of the doorway to make room for me. I hobble my way to the bed less than graciously, and I see Jeb sitting on the bed across from mine. I'm used to him being calm, but he looks pretty disturbed looking at me. Yeah, Jeb looks like the picture of fucking disturbed I imagine I was going to change right now. Oh. Yeah, he doesn't look all that disturbed still.
The hell happened to you?
Sorry, I need to move my microphone a little closer.
The hell happened to you?
Got foolish and messed around with the wrong farm animals. Yeah, that doesn't sound great. You should probably specify. He gives me a look like he doesn't believe me. I give him a look back that I'm not exactly trying to hide my lie. More that I'm not going to talk about it. Why exactly are you asking anyway? I thought you left. Jeb looks like he's about to say something, but Murdoch butts in. He came back once I reassured him that our issues in the forest weren't his fault, and that Cliff is going to pay him in full. I grimace a bit. And Cliff agreed to all that then? Cliff isn't stupid, Sam. He knows that if he wants to go back home, then we're gonna need a guide. Frankly, I wouldn't want to take us back to Echo either if I were our guide and weren't given my pay up front and a proper apology.
Well, I'm not that delicate. So long as I have my pay guaranteed both ways, there won't be a problem.
I give Murdoch a look. And you're certain this isn't gonna blow back in your face? I've made tougher bargains. So yeah, I'm pretty confident. I nod slowly and sigh, rubbing the back of my head and pulling a piece of twig out of my fur. Jade, would you mind stepping out for a moment? There's something private I want to talk about with Sam.
No need to tell me twice.
He sits up and straightens his cap.
There's something I need to talk to Avery about.
I remember that Avery said that he wanted to be alone, and I mean to stop him. Then he's out of the door before I can muster up a call deep enough to hear. What? Deep enough to hear? Whatever. Murdoch starts pacing around the room. Can you quit walking like that? Makes me nervous. He stops and takes a look at me. You're nervous. You're nervous? I thought you were gone for good last night. I want to say, so what if I was, but that's probably not fair. I'll let you know before I go. He gives me a look like I'm loony. You're still going to try to go off on your own after it looks like you got tossed around and mangled? All I can do is shrug. Where I go is my business. The longer I stay here in this little settlement, the less safe I'm going to feel. I want to make my way to Camp Rose as soon as possible. And what if I told you nowhere was as safe as you think? Well, that's a weird thing to hear him say. Then I'd say it sounds like you're looking for an excuse to keep me around. So you admit you're not even going to try to come back with us to Echo? Not unless you're interested in packing up with me and heading north. I have too many obligations to do something like that. So now we're starting to understand one another. Both have places to be and obligations to fulfill. If you walk out of here, I can almost guarantee you're not going to make it. I lean forward on my bed. You threatening me? Quite the opposite. He walks over to a desk, pulls out one of the shelves, and pulls a photograph of from the shelf. Do you recall that calotype? I don't know what that word means, so let's look it up. Word of the day, we haven't had one of those in a while. An early photographic process in which negatives were made using paper coated with silver iodide. Uh-huh. Well, thank God we know that. But no, that is actually cool that they would say that. Do you remember that calotype we made? Do you remember that calotype we made of Mr. Tibbets standing on the... Why is Murdoch calling him Mr. Tibbets? Like, I get Sam occasionally referring to him as Professor Tibbets or whatever, but why is Murdoch saying Mr. Tibbets? I don't know. Standing on the rock. Feels like forever ago after what we've been through. Sort of. I got the chance to freeze the image. Flip the photo over and take a look. What's that song? Hey. Flip it, reverse it. What's that song?
Work It by Missy Elliott.
No,
Put
what?
my thing down, flip it in reverse.
There we go. Put the thing down, flip it, and reverse it. Thank you.
It's your wonderful.
I do what he said and hold the picture in my hand. Ooh, there's something there. I don't know what that is, but it's something. I mean, it's a nice picture of Cliff, but the hell is that? What the? Looks like something big. Something wrong and contorted about its face. The longer I look at it, the more I can almost smell the corpses of Jeb's donkey. Some kind of magic trick? You think I have the time and the bad humor to pull something like that? People are missing, cargo's destroyed, and now you're injured. We didn't see anything like this when you took this picture. And yet it was clearly right there. It's gotta be some kind of wild animal, right? Can you think of any wild animals that can turn invisible and tear a pack animal to shreds in minutes? His voice is shaking a bit. Whatever this thing is, it could be anywhere at any time. As far as I'm concerned, the only safety there is safety in numbers. Feel my ears lower and my eyes widen. Oh, God. Cliff went off on his own last night for research, didn't he? He's with one of Avery's friends. We need to find him and tell him about this. Do you think he's fine? Of course. He's with Avery's friends. There's a surety and confidence in his voice that makes me feel better. There's a small shadow on his face that makes me think otherwise. Like he's scared. Absolutely terrified. So I grab my walking sticks and make myself stand. Let's go find him.
Damn.